Tonight, growing concerns that the anticipation ahead of the Arizona audit results resembles what we saw leading up to the January 6th insurrection. QAnon followers in particular are shifting all of their attention to this audit in the hopes of returning former President Trump to the White House. It comes as the FBI warns QAnon followers may carry out acts of violence against, quote, perceived members of the cabal, such as Democrats and other political opposition, instead of continually awaiting Q's promised actions, which have not occurred. Joni O'Sullivan is out front. And Joni, you've been reporting on this. You've been on the ground, how this is playing out among QAnon supporters. And you see this. You see a clear parallel to January 6th?
Yeah, Aaron, you know, there's an anticipation and an energy and an obsession, frankly, much like we saw in the days and weeks leading up to January 6th, this idea that, you know, this is going to be the day that everything is going to change, the election will be overturned. Something similar with that energy now we are seeing as we approach the end of this sham audit in Arizona. It's been something we've been hearing on the road. Have a listen. Were you disappointed when Trump lost the election?
I was disappointed in the lack of truth and the election fraud that took place within it. And it's coming out right now in Arizona, and it's going to be a domino effect to the truth that's moving forward.
Unless I'm mistaken, this is the first forensic audit of a presidential election. Forensic. So we don't know.
Do you genuinely think there's a possibility that the election
that Trump could obtain the electoral slate of Arizona? Yes, I think that's a possibility. And if that happens, could it happen to Georgia? Possibly.
So, Aaron, you can hear there that there are people obsessed with this idea that Arizona could be the first domino to fall, and then the election could get overturned, which, of course, is false.
It is. I mean, and, you know, as you point out these disturbing parallels, you also see, Joni, of course, President Trump in a parallel, stirring up supporters ahead of the results in Arizona, right, making this audit such a big deal as he did the January 6th certification. Here's what he said about the audit.
Stay tuned for Arizona. It's going to be a very interesting time in our country. It's going to be a very interesting time. You understand what that means, because it will be, you know, I mean, how do you govern when you lost? How do you govern when you lost?
I mean, it's disturbing, Joni, and yet, of course, there are people who hear that, and there are people who believe it. How much are people taking their cues from Trump?
Yeah, and I think that is the most concerning thing here of anything, Aaron, is that, you know, we've seen these dates come and go, right? We knew QAnon supporters, some of them believed that the inauguration wasn't going to happen, that martial law would be declared. Others believed that Trump was some way going to come back and march for it. But Trump himself did not endorse either of those ideas openly. But what we are seeing now is Trump, as you can hear there, I mean, it's incredible to hear a former president of the United States talking about, you know, how can his Biden govern if he didn't really win the election. Trump is now out there openly endorsing this idea that the Arizona audit could be the first domino to fall. And that's, I think, a very, very dangerous situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Joni, thank you very much for your reporting on this. And I want to go out front now in tonight's Inside Look to Mike Rothschild, who is the author of The Storm is Upon Us, How QAnon Became a Movement, Cult, and Conspiracy Theory of Everything, which comes out tomorrow. Mike, so look, this is now crucial for all of us to understand and to read. You know, these election audits have become the new focus of QAnon supporters. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing these audits become the focal point for all of this movement's energy and their prophetic desire for great change. You have to understand with QAnon, this is a prophetic movement. They believe that there will be a great event that only a few select people know about that will sweep away all of the corruption and evil and restore goodness and patriotism. And for 3.5 years, that was the storm. That was the great unsealing of indictments, the mass arrests of the Democrats, of Hollywood, of big business, wealthy, powerful string pullers who were making everyone's lives miserable. Well, that's not going to happen now. Joe Biden is presumably as deep in the deep state as you get and is not going to arrest himself. So what you have now is not a prophecy of Trump getting rid of all the bad people, but a prophecy of Trump being restored to office. And that's really where these people are looking right now.
So the FBI has warned, obviously, Mike, as you're well aware, that QAnon believers may carry out more acts of violence. They've talked about, for months, about that Myanmar-style coup in the United States, which former General Flynn encouraged. Here's what some of them told Ardoni O'Sullivan recently at a Trump rally.
It was a false election.
So,
and they took over, and that's what happened. The military took over.
That could possibly happen here, possibly. If the military is in control.
Think that's what they're working towards.
Would you think that's what could happen?
That's what I think.
Would you like to see it happen?
Absolutely.
I would like to see it happen.
Really?
Yes.
You know why? Because the election was stolen from us.
The military is doing their own investigation, and at the right time, they're going to be restoring the republic with Trump as president.
So, Mike, do you believe QAnon is a real security threat at this point?
Absolutely. QAnon has been a security threat since the very beginning. The very first Q drop in late October 2017 said that Hillary Clinton was about to be arrested and that the Marines and National Guard would be called up to crush the riots that would take place in the wake of that arrest. This is a movement that has always yearned for a kind of military dictatorship to take over and get rid of the people that they dislike. And a lot of these people are just waiting for it to happen, and maybe they make some Twitter posts. But a few people are very eager to take it into their own hands, and we started seeing it as early as summer 2018 when you had the Hoover Dam blockade by a QAnon believer waiting for the real Inspector General report to be released. Yeah. That doesn't exist. That came from Q. This guy had 900 rounds of ammunition and was in a homemade armored truck. It's a miracle nobody was killed when he was arrested.
I mean, you know, and one of the whole premises for Q is, you know, this belief in this satanic child pedophile democratic ring of some sort, which is really hard stuff to even understand, okay, that someone would believe this. But you have seen chatter among QAnon followers about something that just happened, Mike, that I just want to ask you about, because this is really out there. This is the German Shepherd, Champ, Biden's German Shepherd, Champ, who died at the family's home in Delaware this weekend. This is now part of a QAnon belief of what?
QAnon operates in a secret language. So things that seem very run-of-the-mill to us, like a picture of a dog or a code or a symbol, to them it's secret communication. They call it comms. This is one of the things that brings QAnon people together, that they have a secret shared language that keeps other people out. And so one of the things that has meaning in this secret language are pictures of dogs that were owned by prominent people, and those dogs die. And when those dogs die, that is supposed to be a code that a high-level member of the string-pulling cabal has died or is going to be executed, and that death will be used as a false flag to perpetrate some kind of terrorist event. It sounds completely bonkers, because it is to most people, but to people who look at things and see them for what they want to see, it makes perfect sense.
Which is why it's so terrifying, right? Because it's not something you can reason with and you can explain, and to somebody who believes it, right? And that's the whole power of it and the problem with it. You tackle this in your book. What advice do you give to people who know? I mean, I know people who have family members who they don't know how to deal with anymore or even interact with because their family members believe this stuff. What do those families do?
The first thing that you do is you realize that you are not alone. And whether it's QAnon, whether it's extremism, whether it's membership in some kind of violent group, there are a great number of people right now who are enmeshed in violent, prophetic, extremist movements. So you are not alone. You're not the only person that this is happening to. The second thing is that if you feel like you need to cut off contact with this person, that is absolutely within your right to do that to keep yourself safe. But if this is someone who you do want to reach out to and you feel like you might be able to get through to, don't try to debunk it. Don't try to fact check them out of it. Don't try to mock your way out of it. None of that is going to work, and it's just going to drive them in deeper. Make sure they know that you are a safe place, that you're a safe person to talk to, not about politics or Trump or anything like that, but just about shared experiences or things you've enjoyed together. Let them know that you are there. And if they start to find some trouble, some contradiction in this movement, if they start to find a dangling thread and they start to pull on it, you can be there for them to help them through it.
Mike, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone reads this book. It has become such a crucial thing for people to understand, for all of us. The Storm is Upon Us by Mike Rothschild, as I said. Thanks so much.